Welcome, friend. Tonight we walk a quiet path together. The day has asked much of you, and now the night offers rest. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw release its gentle hold. The pillow beneath your head knows how to carry weight. You do not need to carry anything now. Somewhere in the distance, a candle flickers against the dark. Its light is small, but it does not struggle to be seen. It simply glows because that is its nature, and you too have a light within you. It has been there all along, waiting beneath the noise of daily life. The breath moves in and out without your effort. Notice how it arrives on its own, soft and patient. The inhale fills your chest like water filling a cup. The exhale releases, emptying gently into the quiet air. You do not need to control this rhythm. It has been breathing you since the moment you were born. Tonight, there are no tasks to complete. There are no problems that require solving before dawn. The world outside your window will continue its slow turning without your attention. The stars do not need you to watch them shine. The moon rises whether or not anyone looks up. This is your time to rest. This is your invitation to simply be. In ancient times, monks would gather in wooden temples at the edge of mountain forests. They would sit in silence as evening fell, listening to the rain on cedar roofs. The air smelled of incense and damp earth, of pine needles and distant smoke. They did not speak because words seemed too heavy for such moments. Instead, they let the silence speak for them. One such temple sat at the foot of a great mountain in the southern provinces. It was not a famous temple, and few travellers knew of its existence. The monks who lived there were simple men who had left ordinary lives behind. They grew vegetables in a small garden, swept the stone pathways each morning, and meditated as the sun moved across the sky. Among them was an old monk named Jiro, though the others rarely used his name. They called him simply the calligrapher, for his brushwork was known throughout the province. People came from distant villages to receive his written blessings on scrolls of pale paper. His characters seemed to breathe, each stroke alive with quiet energy. But what most visitors did not know was that Jiro was blind. He had lost his sight many years ago, in the winter of his 42nd year. A fever had taken hold of him, and when it finally released its grip, the world had gone dark. At first, Jiro wept for what he had lost. He grieved the colours of autumn leaves and the faces of his fellow monks. He mourned the sight of ink spreading across paper like smoke in still water. For 3 years, he did not pick up a brush. He sat in his small room and listened to the sounds of the temple around him. He heard the footsteps of young monks hurrying to morning practice. He heard the bell that called them to meditation and the bell that released them. He heard the wind moving through the bamboo grove behind the kitchen. Slowly, something began to change within him. He realized that his eyes had been a kind of distraction. They had shown him the surface of things, but not their essence. When he looked at a mountain, he saw its shape and colour, but he had not truly felt its weight, its patience, its ancient stillness. When he looked at water, he saw its movement and shine, but he had not listened to its voice. Now, in the darkness, he began to hear what he had never noticed before. One morning, the head monk found Jiro sitting in the garden with a brush in his hand. Before him was a sheet of paper, and on the paper was a single character. The stroke was imperfect by conventional standards, wobbly and thick in places, but there was something else present in those lines, The head monk knelt beside him and studied the character for a long time. It was the character for mountain. But it did not merely represent a mountain. It seemed to contain the feeling of standing at the base of a great peak, of looking up and knowing that some things are too vast to climb. It held the silence of stone and the patience of centuries. "How did you do this?" the head monk asked softly. Jiro smiled. His sightless eyes turned toward the morning light. "I stopped trying to paint what I remembered," he said. "I began to paint what I feel." From that day forward, Jiro's calligraphy changed completely. He no longer tried to make beautiful characters in the way he had been taught. He let his brush move according to the feeling within him. Sometimes the strokes were thin and delicate, like threads of spider silk. Other times they were bold and rough, like bark on an ancient tree. People travelled even farther to receive his work. But Jiro did not care about reputation. He painted because the brush and ink had become his way of touching the world. In the darkness of his blindness, he had discovered a deeper kind of seeing. Let this story settle into you like water soaking into dry earth. There is a teaching here, gentle and unhurried. It speaks of how we often mistake the surface of life for its depth. We see with our eyes and believe we understand. We hear with our ears and think we have listened. But there are other ways of knowing that exist beneath the senses. True seeing is not about the eyes. It is about presence, attention, the willingness to be with things as they are. When we stop trying to control what we perceive, something deeper begins to reveal itself. The world opens in ways we did not expect. Perhaps you know this feeling already. Perhaps there have been moments in your life when you suddenly understood something that had always been there. It was not new information that arrived. It was a veil that lifted, showing you what was waiting beneath. Let your breath carry you deeper now. Notice the weight of your body against the bed. Feel how gravity holds you without effort. You do not need to resist this pull. You can surrender to it completely. The earth has been holding beings like you for millions of years. It knows how to support your rest. The thoughts that drift through your mind are not problems to solve. They are clouds passing through an open sky. You can watch them come and watch them go. You do not need to follow them anywhere. They will dissolve on their own, like mist in morning sunlight. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop struggling. In another part of the world, in another time, there was a temple that held a great library. Thousands of scrolls lined its walls, each one containing the teachings of masters who had lived centuries before. Monks spent their entire lives studying these texts, copying them carefully onto new paper so the wisdom would survive. The library was the pride of the temple. Visitors came from distant lands just to see its collection. The abbot would lead them through the long halls, pointing to scrolls that were 500 years old, 800 years old, 1,000 years old. His voice filled with reverence as he spoke of the masters who had written them. One young monk named Haru had been assigned to care for the library. It was his duty to dust the shelves, to check the scrolls for damage, and to ensure that the temperature remained cool and dry. He took this responsibility seriously, arriving each morning before dawn to begin his work. Haru loved the scrolls more than anything else in the world. He loved the smell of old paper and the feeling of holding something ancient in his hands. He believed that the answers to all questions could be found within those texts. He only needed to read more, study harder, and eventually he would understand everything. One autumn evening, a fire broke out in the village below the temple. The flames spread quickly, carried by a strong wind from the east. By the time the monks realized what was happening, the fire had reached the temple walls. They worked frantically to carry water from the well, but the flames were too strong. The abbot ordered everyone to evacuate. The monks fled into the forest, watching in horror as the fire consumed the buildings they had called home. Haru stood frozen at the edge of the trees, his eyes fixed on the library. All those scrolls, all that wisdom, 1,000 years of teachings, about to turn to ash. Before anyone could stop him, Haru ran back toward the burning temple. He crashed through the library door and began grabbing scrolls from the shelves. Smoke filled his lungs and heat seared his skin, but he did not stop. He carried armfuls of scrolls outside, then ran back in for more. Again and again he entered the flames. His robes caught fire, and he beat them out with his bare hands. His face was black with soot, and his eyes streamed with tears. Finally, the roof collapsed. Haru barely escaped, stumbling out of the burning doorway with 3 lost scrolls clutched against his chest. He fell to his knees in the courtyard, gasping for breath, surrounded by the small pile of texts he had managed to save. The other monks rushed to help him. They poured water over his burns and wrapped his wounded hands. But Haru did not seem to feel the pain. He was staring at the burning library, watching centuries of wisdom disappear into the night sky. He had saved perhaps 50 scrolls out of thousands. For many months afterward, Haru could not speak. He sat in the makeshift shelter the monks had built and stared at nothing. His burns healed slowly, leaving thick scars on his arms and hands, but the wound inside him seemed deeper than any flame could reach. The abbot came to sit with him often. He did not try to offer comfort or explain why this had happened. He simply sat in silence, sharing the weight of Haru's grief. One day, as autumn returned and the leaves began to fall again, the abbot finally spoke. "Haru," he said gently, "do you know why we copied those scrolls so carefully?" Haru looked up, confused by the question. "To preserve the wisdom," he answered, "so it would not be lost." The abbot nodded slowly. "And where do you think that wisdom came from?" Haru considered this. "From the masters who wrote it down." The abbot shook his head. "The masters did not create that wisdom," he said. "They discovered it. The truth they wrote about was already present in the world, in the breath, in the silence, in every moment of life. They simply found words to point toward it." Haru's brow furrowed. "Then why did we need the scrolls at all?" The abbot smiled, the first smile Haru had seen since the fire. "We did not need them," he said. "They were useful, like a finger pointing at the moon. But the moon does not disappear when the finger is lowered. The teachings were never in the paper. They were in the living practice of those who studied them." He placed his hand gently on Haru's scarred arm. "You ran into the flames because you believed the truth could be destroyed, but truth cannot burn. It cannot be lost or forgotten. It exists in you, in me, in every monk who carries the teachings forward through their actions." Haru closed his eyes, and for the first time he wept, not from grief, but from something deeper. Relief, perhaps, or release. In the years that followed, the temple was rebuilt. A new library was created, smaller than before, holding only the scrolls Haru had saved and new copies made from memory. But something had changed in the way the monks approached their studies. They spent less time reading and more time practicing. They understood now that the words on paper were only maps, not the territory itself. The real teaching was in the sitting, the breathing, the careful attention to each moment. Haru eventually became the head librarian, though he rarely spent time among the books. He could often be found in the garden, watching the leaves fall, or sitting by the stream that ran behind the meditation hall. His scarred hands rested gently in his lap, no longer grasping for anything. When young monks asked him for guidance, he would smile and offer the same words the old abbot had given him. "The truth cannot burn," he would say. "It lives in you already. Let your breath soften now. Let your body sink deeper into rest." The story of the burning library carries a teaching about attachment. We hold so tightly to things we believe we need. We grasp at ideas, possessions, relationships, identities. We build walls around what we love, trying to protect it from change. But change comes anyway. It always does. The fire in Haru's story was not a punishment or a tragedy. It was simply what happened. Fire burns, wind blows, time passes. The universe moves according to its own rhythm, indifferent to our preferences. We suffer not because things change, but because we resist the changing. What would happen if you loosened your grip just a little? Not abandoning what matters to you, not pretending you do not care, but holding things gently, the way you might hold a bird that has landed in your palm. Open enough that it could fly away, present enough to appreciate its warmth while it stays. Where in your life do you hold on too tightly? What are you afraid of losing? You do not need to answer these questions tonight. Simply let them rest in your awareness, like stones at the bottom of a clear pond. They will be there when you need them. For now, breathe. The night is deep and quiet. The world outside your window has grown still. Perhaps there is rain falling somewhere nearby, or perhaps the air is dry and cool. It does not matter. You are here, safe, held by the darkness that asks nothing of you. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop struggling. Imagine now a garden in early morning. The sun has not yet risen, but the sky has begun to lighten at the edges. Mist hangs low over the mossy ground, curling around the bases of ancient stones. Somewhere a bird calls once, twice, then falls silent. This is the garden of a small temple in the mountains of Japan. It has been tended for 300 years by monks who understood that gardening is a form of meditation. They placed each stone with care, raked the gravel in patterns that mimic flowing water, pruned the pine trees so their shapes echo the curves of clouds. A monk walks slowly along the stone path, his bare feet silent on the cool surface. He carries a bamboo rake in one hand and a small broom in the other. His name is Kenji, and he has been caring for this garden for 40 years. Every morning before dawn, Kenji sweeps the fallen leaves and rakes the gravel smooth. He does not rush. He does not think about what he will do later or what happened yesterday. His mind is fully present with each stroke of the rake, each swish of the broom. Sometimes visitors ask him why he bothers. The leaves will fall again tomorrow. The wind will disturb the gravel. Why spend hours creating order that will not last? Kenji always smiles at this question. You are right, he says. Tomorrow it will need to be done again. And the day after that, and the day after that. This is not a problem. This is the practice. He pauses, leaning on his rake, looking out at the garden he has tended for 4 decades. I do not sweep to create perfection, he continues. I sweep because sweeping is my way of being present. Each leaf I lift, each line I draw in the gravel, is a moment of my life fully lived. The impermanence is not the enemy of meaning. It is what makes each moment precious. The visitors often look confused. They have been taught that work should produce lasting results. Effort should build towards something permanent. The idea that work can be valuable without outcome feels strange to them. But Kenji understands something they have not yet learned. The purpose of the garden is not the garden. The purpose is the gardening. This is true of so many things in life. We think we are working toward goals, achievements, destinations. We believe happiness waits at the end of our striving. But happiness is not a place we arrive, it is a way we travel. The journey is not separate from the destination. Each step is a small arrival. Let this understanding settle into your bones. Let it soften the constant reaching toward tomorrow. You are not waiting for your life to begin. You are living it now, in this breath, in this moment of rest. If these teachings bring you peace, you are welcome to subscribe and return whenever you wish to rest. This channel exists as a quiet refuge, a place where stillness is honoured. You can come back anytime the world feels too loud, but for now, let us continue walking together through the night. The garden fades gently from your mind, replaced by something even simpler. An empty room, a single candle, the sound of rain against a paper screen. In this room sits a woman who has not spoken for 7 years. Her name was once Michiko, though she no longer uses it. She came to this temple as a young woman, fleeing a life that had become unbearable. Her husband had died, then her child, then her parents. One by one, everyone she loved was taken from her. For a long time she wandered. She worked in villages, cleaning and cooking, never staying anywhere for more than a few months. She could not bear to form attachments. The thought of loving something and losing it again was more than she could endure. Eventually, she came to this temple. She asked to stay, not as a nun, but as a servant. She would clean and cook and tend the grounds. She wanted only to be useful and to be left alone. The abbess agreed, asking no questions. For 2 years, Michiko worked in silence. She spoke only when necessary, giving brief answers and avoiding eye contact. The other residents learned not to engage her in conversation. She seemed like a ghost, present but not quite real. One winter evening, Michiko was sweeping the meditation hall when she noticed the abbess sitting alone by the fire. The old woman's eyes were closed, her hands folded in her lap. She seemed to be meditating, but there was something different about her stillness. Michiko paused, her broom held motionless. The abbess opened her eyes and looked at her. "You are wondering why I am crying," the old woman said. Michiko had not noticed the tears, but now she saw them, 2 thin streams running down the abbess's weathered cheeks. "My teacher died today," the abbess continued. "I received word this afternoon. She was very old, and her death was peaceful. But still, I am sad." Michiko did not know what to say. She had spent 2 years avoiding emotion. The sight of this dignified woman weeping openly made her uncomfortable. The abbess smiled gently. "You think it is strange that I cry," she said. "You believe that a spiritual teacher should be beyond such feelings, that wisdom means not being affected by loss." Michiko did not respond, but her silence was answer enough. The abbess patted the cushion beside her. "Come sit with me. I want to tell you something." Michiko hesitated, then set down her broom. She crossed the hall and sat where the abbess indicated, keeping a careful distance. "When I was young," the abbess began, "I believed that enlightenment meant feeling nothing. I thought the goal was to become like a stone, unmoved by pleasure or pain. I worked very hard to empty myself of all emotion." She paused, gazing into the fire. "For many years, I thought I was succeeding. My heart became hard and still. Nothing touched me. I believed this was wisdom, this frozen calm." The flames crackled softly. Rain continued to fall outside, but my teacher saw what I could not see. She knew that I was not becoming wise. I was becoming dead inside. One day she took me for a walk in the garden and asked me a simple question. What did she ask? The words escaped Michiko's mouth before she could stop them. It was the first question she had asked anyone in years. The abbess turned to look at her. She asked me why I was so afraid of my own heart. Silence filled the hall. Michiko felt something stirring in her chest, something she had worked hard to bury. "I told her I was not afraid," the abbess continued. "I told her I had simply transcended attachment." She laughed very gently and said that transcendence and avoidance are not the same thing. The fire popped, sending up a small shower of sparks. "True peace is not the absence of feeling," the abbess said. "It is the willingness to feel everything without being destroyed by it. Grief is not the enemy of wisdom, it is wisdom's companion. When we love deeply, we will grieve deeply. This is not a failure, this is being human." Michiko's throat tightened. She had spent so long running from her pain, walling it away, pretending it did not exist, but it was still there, waiting. "My teacher taught me that we must let the heart break," the abbess continued. "Not once, but many times. Each breaking opens us further. Each loss cracks us open to more compassion, more tenderness, more presence." She reached out and took Michiko's hand. The touch was gentle, warm, unbearably kind. "You came here to hide from your grief," she said softly. "I understand. The pain you carry seems too heavy to bear, but hiding only makes it heavier. The only way through grief is through." Something broke open in Michiko then. The walls she had built, the armour she had worn, the distance she had maintained, all of it crumbled. And for the first time in years, she wept. She wept for her husband, for her child, for her parents. She wept for the years she had lost to numbness. She wept for the young woman she had been and the stone she had become. The abbess held her hand through all of it. She did not try to stop the tears or offer comfort. She simply sat, present, witnessing. When the tears finally slowed, Michiko felt something unexpected. Beneath the grief, beneath the pain, there was something else. A quiet stillness, a sense of coming home. The abbé smiled. "Now," she said gently, "the real practice can begin." That was 7 years ago. Michiko took vows and became a nun. She chose silence not as a way of hiding, but as a way of listening. She discovered that words often covered up what was most true. In silence, she could hear the voice of her own heart. She still grieves sometimes. When spring comes and the cherry blossoms fall, she remembers her daughter, who loved to watch them dance in the wind. When winter arrives with its first cold snap, she thinks of her husband, who always complained about the cold, but secretly loved watching his breath fog in the air. But the grief no longer overwhelms her. It moves through her like weather, like clouds crossing She watches it come and watches it go. She has learned to make room for it without being carried away. This is the teaching she carries in her silent heart. We are not meant to escape our feelings. We are meant to feel them fully and let them pass. Allow these words to wash over you like gentle rain. You have your own sorrows, your own losses, your own walls built against pain. We all do. We are humans, vulnerable and soft, living in a world that sometimes breaks our hearts. But you do not need to be fixed. You do not need to be stronger or wiser or more enlightened. You only need to be willing to feel what is here, right now, without running away. The sadness you carry is not your enemy. It is proof that you have loved. It is evidence of a heart that opened, even knowing it might be broken. This takes courage. This takes tremendous bravery. Honour your grief. Bow to your sorrow. They have come to teach you something important, and then, when you are ready, let them go. The breath continues its patient rhythm. In and out, in and out. You do not need to control it. It knows how to flow on its own. Let your body soften even deeper now. Let your thoughts grow quieter, more distant. They are still there, murmuring at the edges of awareness, but they no longer seem important. They are just sounds, just echoes, just the mind doing what minds do. You do not need to follow them. You can simply rest. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop struggling. In a small village at the edge of a great forest, there lived a teacher who was known for his patience. Students came from across the land to study with him, drawn by stories of his wisdom and his gentle way of teaching. The teacher was not a dramatic man. He did not perform miracles or speak in riddles. He simply lived his life with great attention, treating each moment as sacred. When he ate, he was fully present with his food. When he walked, he was fully present with each step. When he listened, he gave his complete attention. One day, a young man arrived at the teacher's door. He was restless and ambitious, eager to achieve enlightenment quickly, so he could return to the world and do important things. He had studied with many teachers before this one, but none had given him what he sought. "I have heard you are the wisest teacher in the land," the young man said. "I have come to learn from you." The teacher smiled and invited him inside. "What is it you wish to learn?" he asked. "I want to find peace," the young man said. "I want to stop the constant chatter in my mind. I want to feel whole and complete, but I do not have much time. Is there a quick method you can teach me?" The teacher nodded slowly. "I understand," he said. "You are in a hurry. Come, I will teach you something." He led the young man to a small garden behind his house. In the centre of the garden was a pile of stones. "Your task is simple," the teacher said. "Carry each stone to the other side of the garden. When you have finished, come find me." The young man looked at the pile. There were hundreds of stones, large and small, but he was strong and determined. He set to work immediately, carrying armfuls of stones across the garden and stacking them neatly on the other side. By evening, he was finished. His muscles ached and his hands were raw, but he felt a sense of accomplishment. He hurried to find the teacher. "I am done," he announced proudly. "What is the next lesson?" The teacher looked up from his tea. "The next lesson is the same," he said calmly. "Carry the stones back to where they were." The young man stared at him. "But that makes no sense," he protested. "I just moved them to the other side." "I know," the teacher said, "and now you will move them back." The young man was frustrated, but he trusted there was meaning in this task. He returned to the garden and began carrying the stones back to their original position. The next day, the teacher gave him the same instruction, and the day after that. Weeks passed. The young man carried stones back and forth across the garden, day after day. His frustration grew into anger, then into despair, then into something like acceptance. One morning, as he lifted a large stone from the pile, something shifted inside him. He noticed the weight of the stone in his hands. He felt its coolness, its rough texture, the way it fit perfectly in his palms. He noticed how his body adjusted to balance the weight, how his breath deepened to support the effort. He began walking slowly across the garden, attending to each step. The gravel crunched softly beneath his feet. A bird sang somewhere in the trees. The morning sunlight slanted through the branches, casting long shadows on the ground. For the first time, he was not carrying stones to complete a task. He was simply carrying stones. There was no destination, no accomplishment waiting at the end. There was only this moment, this stone, this step. He set the stone down gently and stood still, breathing. Something had changed. He went to find the teacher, who was sitting quietly in his room. "I think I understand now," the young man said slowly. The lesson was never about moving the stones. The teacher looked at him with kind eyes. "What was the lesson?" he asked. The young man paused, searching for words. The lesson was the carrying itself. The lesson was learning to be present with whatever I am doing, without needing it to lead somewhere. The teacher smiled. "And now that you understand this, do you still need to achieve enlightenment quickly?" The young man laughed, a genuine laugh that surprised him. "No," he said, "I do not think there is anywhere to rush to. Everything I was looking for is already here." The teacher nodded. "This is the beginning of wisdom," he said. "When we stop trying to arrive somewhere else, we discover that we have never been anywhere but here." The young man stayed with the teacher for many more years. He continued to carry stones, though less often. He swept floors, chopped vegetables, washed dishes. He learned that every activity could become a doorway to presence if approached with enough attention. Eventually, he became a teacher himself. When students came to him asking for quick methods and rapid enlightenment, he would smile and lead them to a pile of stones. Let this story settle into you like snow falling on still water. There is no shortcut to peace. There is no technique that will deliver you to enlightenment by morning. But there is also no need for shortcuts. The path is not separate from the destination. Each step is a small arrival. You are not waiting for your life to begin. You are living it now. This breath is your life. This moment is your life. The weight of your body on the bed, the darkness behind your eyes, the soft sounds of the night around you. This is it. This is what you have been searching for. You can stop searching now. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop struggling. The night continues to deepen. The hours pass without you needing to track them. Time has become soft and fluid, like honey pouring slowly from a jar. Perhaps you are already drifting towards sleep. Perhaps your thoughts have grown faint and far away. This is good. This is exactly as it should be. Let yourself sink further. Imagine now that you are lying on warm sand beside a quiet ocean. The sky above is filled with stars, more stars than you have ever seen. The waves lap gently at the shore, their rhythm matching your breath. There is no one else here. No voices, no demands, no expectations. Only you and the sky and the endless patient sea. The sand cradles your body perfectly. It holds you without effort, supporting every curve and angle. You could not fall even if you tried. You are held. The waves continue their soft conversation with the shore. In and out, in and out. Each wave dissolves into foam and returns to the sea. Nothing is lost. Everything cycles, flows, returns. You are part of this great cycle. Your breath rises and falls like the waves. Your thoughts come and go like clouds moving across the sky of awareness. You are not separate from the world around you. You are made of the same stuff. Star matter, ocean water, earth and air and fire. You have been here before, in some form. You will be here again. The atoms that make up your body were once part of ancient stars, were once part of dinosaurs and ferns and prehistoric seas. They will become something else when this body is finished. They will continue their endless journey through the universe. This is not a sad thought. It is a vast one. It connects you to everything that has ever been and everything that will ever be. You are not alone in the dark. You are part of an infinite web of being, stretching backward and forward through time. Every creature that has ever lived is your relative. Every star is your cousin. Let this bigness hold you. You do not need to understand it all. You do not need to grasp the infinite. You only need to rest in the knowing that you belong here. You have always belonged here. The universe wanted you exactly as you are. It made you from itself, for itself. You are the universe looking at itself through human eyes. You are the cosmos becoming aware of its own existence. What a strange and beautiful thing. Let your breath soften now. Let your thoughts dissolve. In a mountain temple long ago, there was a young monk who was troubled by anger. No matter how hard he tried to maintain composure, small irritations would ignite his temper. A spilled cup of tea, a fellow monk who chewed too loudly, a cold draft through a poorly sealed window. Each time his anger flared, he would feel deep shame. He believed that spiritual practice should make him calm and serene. Instead, he seemed as volatile as ever. One day, he went to the elder monk who supervised the temple and confessed his struggle. "I have practiced meditation for 5 years," he said, "but still my anger arises. What am I doing wrong?" The elder monk listened quietly, his face showing neither judgment nor surprise. "Tell me," he said, "when your anger arises, what do you do?" "I try to suppress it," the young monk answered. "I push it down and pretend it is not there, but it always returns." The elder monk nodded slowly. "This is your mistake," he said. "You are treating your anger like an enemy to be defeated, but your anger is not separate from you. It is part of your experience, part of your humanity." The young monk looked confused. "But surely I should overcome my anger," he said. "Is that not the goal of practice?" The elder monk smiled. "The goal is not to become someone who never feels anger. The goal is to change your relationship with anger when it arises." He paused, gazing out the window at the distant mountains. "Imagine your mind is like the sky," he continued. "Thoughts and emotions are like clouds that pass through. Sometimes the clouds are white and fluffy. Sometimes they are dark and stormy, but the sky itself remains unchanged." He turned back to the young monk. "When you try to push away your anger, you become like a sky trying to fight its own clouds. This only creates more turbulence. Instead, learn to watch your anger without fighting it. Let it arise, Let it be present and let it pass. But how? The young monk asked. When the anger comes, it feels so overwhelming. I cannot simply watch it. The older monk nodded with understanding. This is why we practice, he said, not to eliminate anger, but to develop the capacity to be with it. Each time you meditate, you are training your awareness. You are learning to observe without reacting. He placed his hand gently on the young monk's shoulder. The next time your anger arises, try something different. Instead of pushing it away, turn toward it with curiosity. Notice where you feel it in your body. Is there heat in your chest, tension in your jaw, tightness in your hands? The young monk considered this. And then what? Then simply breathe with it, the older monk said. Do not try to change it or fix it. Just breathe and observe. You may be surprised at what happens. The young monk bowed and returned to his practice. Many months passed. His anger continued to arise, but slowly he learned to work with it differently. When he felt the familiar heat building in his chest, he would pause and turn his attention inward. He noticed that anger always began as a small spark, barely perceptible. If he caught it early, he could watch it flicker without letting it spread. He noticed that anger was often accompanied by other feelings: fear, hurt, disappointment. These softer feelings had been hiding beneath the anger all along. Most importantly, he noticed that when he stopped fighting his anger, it began to transform. It did not disappear, but it lost its grip on him. It became just another experience, neither good nor bad, rising and passing like everything else. One winter morning, a young monk spilled hot tea on him as they were serving the elders. In the past, this would have ignited his fury, but this time something different happened. He felt the hot liquid soaking through his robe. He felt the flash of irritation in his chest. He watched the familiar heat begin to rise, and then he paused. He breathed in. He noticed the sensation in his body. He let the irritation be present without acting on it. Within a few breaths, it had passed. He smiled at the young monk who had spilled the tea. "It is nothing," he said gently. "These things happen." The young monk hurried away to get a cloth, and the older monk sat quietly, marvelling at what had just occurred. Not that he had avoided anger, but that he had changed his relationship with it. He was no longer at war with himself. Let this teaching rest in your awareness. We spend so much energy fighting against parts of ourselves we do not like. We wage war against our anger, our fear, our doubt, our sadness. We believe that spiritual growth means eliminating these experiences, but elimination is not the way. Integration is the way. Every part of you has a purpose. Every emotion carries a message. Even the difficult feelings, especially the difficult feelings, are trying to tell you something important. What would happen if you stopped fighting? Not giving in to destructive impulses, not acting out every feeling that arises, but simply letting feelings be present without resistance, watching them with the same openness you might bring to watching clouds pass through the sky. The thoughts that rise are not you. They are clouds crossing the sky of awareness. You are the sky, vast, open, unchanged by the weather that moves through. Let your breath deepen now. Let your body sink further into rest. The night is quiet around you. The world has grown soft and distant. Whatever you were worried about this morning seems far away now. Whatever you need to do tomorrow can wait. This moment is all there is. This breath, this darkness, this gentle sinking towards sleep. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop struggling. Imagine now a temple at twilight. The sun has just set, leaving the sky painted in shades of orange and purple. The first stars are beginning to appear, faint points of light in the deepening blue. Inside the temple, a single lantern burns. Its light flickers against the wooden walls, casting long shadows that dance and sway. An old monk sits before a low table, preparing to write. His name is lost to history now. The scrolls that recorded such things have crumbled into dust, but his words survive, passed down through generations of students, teacher to student, voice to voice. He dips his brush into the ink and begins to write. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. He pauses, considering the words. Then he continues. The student asks, "What changes with awakening?" The master answers, "Nothing and everything." Before awakening, we chop wood and carry water while wishing we were doing something else. We complete our tasks while dreaming of the future, when life will be different. We are always somewhere else, always reaching for what we do not have. After awakening, we chop wood and carry water with our whole being. We are fully present with the axe in our hands, with the weight of the bucket, with the cool splash of water on our skin. We discover that this moment, this ordinary moment, is enough. The old monk sets down his brush and gazes at what he has written. The lantern flickers, the shadows dance. Outside, a night bird calls once and falls silent. He picks up the brush again. Do not seek enlightenment as if it were something outside yourself. Do not imagine it as a state to be achieved at some future time. The peace you are seeking is already here. It is what you are, beneath the confusion of thoughts and desires. When you stop searching, you will find that you never lost anything. When you stop running, you will discover that you have already arrived. Let your thoughts dissolve now. Let your mind grow quiet and still. The words on the scroll are just words. The story of the monk is just a story, but the truth they point toward is not outside you. It is as close as your own breath, as near as the beating of your heart. You are what you have been seeking. This is not a concept to be understood. It is a recognition to be lived. And in this recognition, everything changes. The same life continues. The same challenges, the same relationships, the same routines. But they are seen now with different eyes. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. The mundane becomes sacred. You do not need to go anywhere special to find enlightenment. You do not need to do anything dramatic. You only need to be fully present with what is already here. The breath moving in and out, the weight of your body on the bed, the gentle darkness that surrounds you. This is it. This is the moment you have been waiting for. Let yourself receive it. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop struggling. The night deepens around you. The hours continue their slow procession, but you have stopped counting. Time has become irrelevant, a human invention that does not apply in this moment. There is only this, only here, only now. Your body has grown heavy with rest. Your thoughts have become whispers, barely audible at the edges of awareness. You are drifting, floating, sinking into something vast and peaceful. Let yourself go. In a tiny hermitage on a steep mountainside, an old woman lived alone. She had been there for 30 years, meditating, gardening, watching the seasons cycle through their endless patterns. Visitors rarely came. The path to her hermitage was steep and treacherous. and most seekers preferred the comfort of the valley temples. But occasionally, someone would make the climb. One autumn afternoon, a young woman arrived at the hermitage door. She was exhausted from the climb, her clothes torn from brambles and her face streaked with dust. But there was a fierce determination in her eyes. The old woman invited her in and served her tea. They sat in silence for a long time, watching the steam rise from their cups. Finally, the young woman spoke. "I have come to ask you a question," she said. "I have been studying the teachings for 10 years, but I am more confused than ever. Please tell me the truth plainly. What is the essence of all these teachings?" The old woman smiled and sipped her tea. "You have climbed a long way to ask a simple question," she said. The young woman leaned forward eagerly. "Then please give me a simple answer." The old woman set down her cup and looked directly into the young woman's eyes. "Let go," she said. The young woman waited for more, but the old woman said nothing else. "Is that all?" the young woman asked, disappointment in her voice. "Just let go?" The old woman nodded. "That is the whole teaching. Everything else is commentary." "But let go of what?" the young woman pressed. "And how?" The old woman gestured toward the window where autumn leaves were falling from the maple tree. "Watch the leaves," she said. "When their time comes, they let go. They do not cling to the branch, begging for more summer. They do not rage against the wind that carries them away. They simply release their hold and fall." The young woman watched the leaves drifting down, spiraling gently in the cool air. "But we are not leaves," she said. "We have minds that cling and hearts that attach. How can we let go when holding on is our nature?" The old woman laughed softly. "Holding on is not your nature," she said. "It is your habit. You have practiced it for so long that it feels natural, but you can learn a new habit." She paused, gazing at the falling leaves. "Start small. Let go of your need to be right in an argument. Let go of your attachment to a particular outcome. Let go of your idea of who you should be by now." The young woman listened intently. "Each time you let go of something small," the old woman continued, "you strengthen your capacity to let go of something larger. Eventually, you may learn to let go of your very self." "What do you mean?" the young woman asked. The old woman smiled mysteriously. "The self you cling to is not who you really are," she said. "It is a story you tell yourself, a collection of memories and habits and preferences. It feels solid, but it is constantly changing." She tapped her own chest. "Who you really are is what remains when the story stops. It is the awareness that witnesses all the comings and goings. It is the sky behind the clouds, the silence behind the noise." The young woman felt something stir in her chest, a recognition perhaps, or a hope. "How do I find this true self?" she asked. "You do not find it," the old woman said. "You realize you have never been anything else. The searching itself is what hides it from you." The young woman's brow furrowed. "So I should stop searching?" The old woman nodded. "When you stop searching for what you already have, you will see that it has been here all along, like a fish searching for water, like the eye trying to see itself." She reached out and gently touched the young woman's forehead. "Rest," she said softly. "Stop reaching for tomorrow. Stop regretting yesterday. Be here, now, completely, and you will discover what you have been seeking." The young woman stayed with the old hermit for many months. She learned to let go of her ambitious plans and her fear of failure. She learned to let go of her identity as a seeker and her idea of what enlightenment should look like. And slowly, something began to shift. She stopped looking for special experiences. She stopped waiting for a breakthrough. She simply lived each day, chopping wood, carrying water, watching leaves fall. One morning, as she was sweeping the path outside the hermitage, something happened that she could never quite describe. There was no flash of light, no dramatic realization, just a sudden, quiet knowing. She had been looking in the wrong direction all along. What she sought was not somewhere else, not in the future, not in a different state of consciousness. It was here now, in the simple act of sweeping. She laughed out loud, and then she kept sweeping. The old woman heard the laughter and nodded to herself. She understood. Let this teaching dissolve into you like salt dissolving in water. You cannot find yourself because you have never been lost. You cannot achieve enlightenment because you already are what you are seeking. The search itself is what creates the sense of separation. What would happen if you stopped searching, even for a moment, not giving up, not resignation, but simply resting in what is already here? The breath, the awareness, the vast open space of being. This is not something you need to attain. It is something you are. Let yourself rest in this knowing now. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop struggling. The night has grown very deep now. The world outside has gone completely still. Perhaps even the birds are sleeping, their heads tucked beneath their wings. You are drifting on the edge of sleep, that soft threshold between waking and dreaming. The stories you have heard tonight are beginning to blur together, their edges softening like watercolours bleeding into one another. This is good. Let them blend. Let them become a single feeling, a single invitation to rest. The blind calligrapher painting what he could not see, the young monk watching his library burn, the woman who learned to grieve, the stone carrier finding presence in each step, the hermit on the mountain whispering let go. All of them are pointing to the same truth. All of them are saying the same thing in different ways. You are already whole. You are already at peace. You have only forgotten temporarily in the noise and rush of daily life. But tonight, in this quiet hour, you can remember. You can feel the truth of it in your bones. You are not your thoughts. You are not your worries. You are not your fears or your failures or your plans. You are the awareness that holds all these things, like the sky holds clouds. You are the silence behind the noise, the stillness behind the movement. Nothing can harm what you really are. Nothing can diminish it or take it away. Let yourself rest in this knowing. The thoughts that rise are not you. They are clouds crossing the sky of awareness, and you are the sky, vast, peaceful, unchanged by any weather. Let your breath become softer now, slower, deeper. Let each exhale carry you further into rest. Let each inhale fill you with quiet light. There is nowhere you need to go. There is nothing you need to do. The universe is handling everything that needs to be handled. You can let go completely. In ancient temples, monks would sometimes practice a meditation called just sitting. They would sit without any goal, without any technique, without any attempt to achieve anything. Just sitting, just being. This is what you can do now, just lying, just breathing, just being here, present, alive. No effort, no striving, no reaching for something better, just this. The pillow beneath your head, the blanket over your body, the darkness that wraps around you like a gentle embrace. This is enough. This is more than enough. This is everything. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop struggling. Imagine now that you are sinking into a vast ocean of peace, not drowning, not struggling, but floating, supported, held. The water is warm and welcoming. It cradles every part of your body, taking all the weight, all the tension. You do not need to swim. You do not need to float. The water itself holds you up. Above you, the sky is filled with stars. Below you, the ocean stretches to infinite depths. But you are safe here, at the surface, suspended between heaven and earth. There is nothing to do, nothing to figure out, nothing to achieve. Just this floating, just this being held. The stars turn slowly overhead. The waves rock you gently. Your breath matches the rhythm of the sea. In and out, in and out. Everything you have worried about seems very far away now. It exists somewhere, in some other dimension, but it cannot touch you here. You are beyond its reach. You are safe. You are whole. You are at peace. Let yourself sink deeper into this feeling. There is no bottom to this ocean of peace. You can keep sinking forever, and you will only find more peace, more stillness, more rest. Let go of the last threads of waking consciousness. They will be there when you return. They are not going anywhere, but for now you can release them. The day will come again. The sun will rise. The toss will wait for your attention. But that is tomorrow's concern, not tonight's. Tonight there is only this breath, this darkness, this gentle sinking. You have done enough. You have been enough. You are enough. Let the night take you now. In a monastery by the sea, monks would gather each evening to watch the sunset. They would sit in silence on the rocky cliff, watching the great orange ball sink slowly into the water. No one spoke during this time. No one moved. They simply watched, present, attentive. One young monk once asked his teacher why they did this every evening. The teacher smiled. "We watch to remember," he said. "Remember what? That everything is always ending and beginning, that each moment is both a death and a birth. The sun that sets tonight is not the same sun that will rise tomorrow, and yet it is." The young monk did not fully understand, but he continued to watch the sunsets year after year, and eventually he began to grasp what his teacher meant. Nothing lasts, everything changes. Each moment passes into the next, never to return exactly as it was. But in this impermanence, there is great beauty. Each moment is precious precisely because it is fleeting. Each sunset is a masterpiece precisely because it will never happen again. The monks learned to hold life lightly because of this. They loved deeply but did not cling. They worked hard but did not attach to outcomes. They knew that everything they loved would eventually pass away, and this knowledge did not make them sad. It made them grateful. It made them present. It made them alive. You too can learn to hold life this way, gently, openly, without grasping. The people you love will not be here forever, neither will you. This is not a tragedy. This is the nature of things. Let this knowing soften you rather than harden you. Let it open your heart rather than close it. Each breath is a gift. Each moment is a miracle. You are here, now, alive, aware. This will not last forever, and that is what makes it so precious. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop struggling. The night continues to hold you. The darkness is complete now, soft and velvet, without edge or boundary. Perhaps you are already dreaming. Perhaps the boundary between waking and sleep has dissolved, and you are floating in that liminal space where anything is possible. This is the realm of the unconscious, the deep waters of the psyche where healing happens. Dreams are woven here, memories are sorted, the business of the day is processed and released. You do not need to do anything in this realm. It works on its own, without your conscious direction. You only need to let go and trust the process. The same intelligence that beats your heart is tending to your dreams. The same wisdom that grows your fingernails and heals your cuts is working in the depths of your mind. You are in good hands. You can rest completely. Let the final threads of thought dissolve now. Let the stories fade into silence. Let the words become whispers, and the whispers become nothing at all. There is only breath now, only darkness, only the gentle rhythm of your sleeping heart. In old temples, a bell would ring at the end of the meditation period, a single pure note vibrating through the hall, signalling the return to ordinary activity. But there was no real boundary. The meditation was not something that happened only when sitting. It was a way of being that extended into every moment. Walking meditation, eating meditation, working meditation, sleeping meditation. This is what you are practicing now. Sleeping meditation, resting meditation, letting go meditation. You are not leaving the practice by falling asleep. You are deepening it. In sleep, the ego dissolves. The constant commentary of the mind grows quiet. The small self that worries and plans and strives gets to rest. What remains is what was always there, the awareness beneath awareness, the being beneath being. This is what you return to each night. This is what renews you, heals you, makes you ready for another day. Trust this process. It has been working for you every night of your life. It will continue to work tonight. Let go. The night is here. The breath moves on its own, and all is well. Far across the mountains, in a valley where no roads lead, there is said to be a temple that no one can find unless they have stopped looking for it. Travellers who search for it deliberately always return empty-handed. They climb the same paths, cross the same streams, but the temple remains hidden. Some say it does not exist at all, but others tell a different story. They say that those who give up the search sometimes stumble upon it by accident. Not by trying, but by letting go of trying. A merchant lost in a storm might find himself at its gates. A wanderer, having abandoned all hope of shelter, might look up and see its roof through the clouds. The temple appears when it is no longer sought. It reveals itself to those who have stopped grasping. This is how it is with peace. You cannot chase it down. You cannot force it to appear. The harder you try to be peaceful, the further peace retreats. But when you give up the effort, when you stop struggling and simply rest, peace finds you. It was never far away. It was only hidden by your seeking. Tonight, you have stopped seeking. Tonight, you have let go of effort, and peace has come to meet you. It has always been this close, just on the other side of striving. Let yourself rest in its presence now. The temple gates are open. You have arrived without travelling. You have found what you never lost. This is home. Not a place, but a recognition. Not a destination, but a way of being. You are home. Let yourself feel this truth settling into your body. You are home. Let it sink deeper, past the mind, into the heart. You are home. The search is over. The journey is complete. Not because you reached a goal, but because you realized there was never anywhere to go. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop struggling. The candle has burned low now. Its light is barely a flicker, a tiny orange glow in the vast darkness. Soon it will go out entirely, and only darkness will remain. But darkness is not absence. It is presence of another kind. It is the womb from which all light is born, the source to which all light returns. You came from darkness, in the warm mystery of your mother's body. You will return to darkness, in the great mystery that lies beyond this life. And each night you return to darkness again, to rest, to renew, to remember what you are. Do not fear the dark. It is your oldest home. It is the place where you are most yourself. Let it wrap around you now. Let it hold you close. The light will return. It always does. The sun will rise, and another day will unfold. But that is later. That is tomorrow. For now, there is only this breath, this darkness, this gentle letting go. In the final moments before sleep takes you completely, there is sometimes a threshold, a place between worlds where dreams and waking touch. You may be there now, hovering at the edge, feeling the pull of something deeper. Do not resist it. Do not cling to consciousness. The waking world will still be there when you return. For now, let yourself cross over. Let yourself fall. Not into nothing, but into everything. Not into absence, but into presence. The dreams are waiting. They have things to show you, things the waking mind cannot understand. They speak a different language, the language of symbols and feelings, of archetypes and images. Trust them, let them do their work, and somewhere beneath the dreams, in the deepest layer of sleep, there is stillness, pure, unbroken stillness, a peace so complete that it has no opposite. This is where you are heading. This is where the night is carrying you. Let it carry you now. Let go of these words. Let go of these stories. Let go of the voice that has been guiding you. It has done its work. It has brought you to the threshold. From here, you go alone. But you are never really alone. The whole universe is with you, in you, as you. The stars are breathing with you. The mountains are dreaming with you. Every creature that sleeps tonight is your companion in the dark. You are part of something vast and ancient and unimaginably beautiful. Let yourself rest in this belonging. The night is here. The breath moves on its own, and all is well. In old temples, the monks would say that the deepest teaching could not be put into words. It could only be transmitted through silence, through presence, through being in the company of one who had realized it. This is what the night offers you now. Not teaching, but transmission. Not concepts, but experience. Let the silence speak to you. Let the darkness show you what words cannot describe. You have heard enough stories for one night. You have received enough teachings. Now let them all dissolve into the one truth that underlies them all. You are awareness itself. You are peace itself. You are the stillness that cannot be disturbed. This is not something you need to believe. It is something you can know directly in your own experience right now. Not as a thought, but as a feeling. Not as an idea, but as a recognition. You are home. And you have always been home. The search was the only thing hiding this from you. The effort was the only obstacle. Now that you have let go, you can see clearly. There was never anything wrong. There was never anything missing. You were always complete, always whole, always exactly what you needed to be. Rest in this knowing. Let it be your lullaby. Let it be the last thing you hear before sleep takes you. You are home. You are peace. You are love. and all is well. The voice fades now, growing softer, more distant, like a friend walking away down a long path, disappearing into the mist. You do not need to follow. You do not need to call them back. They have said what they came to say. They have offered what they came to offer. Now there is only you, only the breath, only the vast peaceful dark. Let yourself dissolve into it, not as an ending, but as a completion, not as a loss, but as a return. You are returning to what you have always been. You are remembering what you never forgot. In the spaces between thoughts, peace has been waiting. In the silence beneath all sounds, stillness has been present. You are entering that silence now. You are joining that stillness. Let it receive you. Let it hold you through the night. When morning comes, you will return refreshed. You will wake with the peace of the night still lingering in your bones. The world will look a little softer, a little kinder. The tasks that seem so urgent will seem a little less important, because you will remember, not the stories perhaps, not the words, but the feeling, the truth that touched you in the dark. You will carry it with you into the day, and when the evening comes again, when you lay your head down to rest, you will know where to find it. It is always here. It is always waiting. You only need to let go. Peace is not something you create. It is what remains when you stop struggling. The candle has gone out now. Only darkness remains. And in the darkness, something is breathing. Slowly, gently, without effort. It is you. It is the night. It is everything that is. All breathing together. All resting together. All returning to the source. Let yourself be breathed. Let yourself be held. Let yourself be nothing and everything at once. The night is here. The breath moves on its own. And as the world continues quietly without you needing to do a thing, you drift and you soften and you let go. The dreams are waiting. The peace is here. And all is well. All is well. All is well.